Hello, and welcome to Bodied, a Cloud9 fancast. If you haven't figured it out quite yet, if I do the intro, Frozen Creek, then it is most likely a solo cast from the past couple weeks of experience. We are going to be looking to get someone else in here for when Havoc Puss has to work, but for now, you're just stuck with a short little episode with me, so hopefully you can hold on your seats, and let's finish up the regular season for Cloud9 LCS in style. So, let's start off with all of the other things first. Trying to do it in the way that it happened. So, Kalento took home first place at the Starladder Ultimate Series, which is good news because he's been a little bit, all over the place in some of his performances. I didn't get a chance to watch it, so if I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. The Rules of Survival team that I totally forgot we had last week, and I remember this week, finished first in group stages at the EU Cup Area 43. It turns out that we apparently have a really good Rules of Survival team, so that's something I'm going to have to look forward to because I like to watch Cloud9 win, and this team is winning quite a bit. The C9 Apex team played in 2 different tournaments in the past week. I didn't get to watch either of them, unfortunately. Working the government job that I have, I'm a little busy. So, and college basketball is on. It's March Madness, so cut me some slack this week. Havoc Puss is the resident expert on everything, and I just blow shit on my ass sometimes. C9 Apex finished top 10 at the Gamers Arena Apex Invitational, and then they finished 5th and 10th in Twitch Rivals, which I would like to think they could do a little bit better in a Twitch Rivals tournament, especially the team that finished 10th, but alas, here we are. The Overwatch team did not play last week. They finished up the stage, and we are now on to stage 2. The Spitfire are 1 game. Let me see. Let me actually do the math. Yeah, 1 game out of playoffs, technically, but there are a bunch of teams at 4-3 or 3-4, so it's going to get a little bit weird. The second stage does not start until April 4th, which is actually next week. So it starts next week. London starts on Friday against the Florida Mayhem. But we will talk a little bit more about that when the time comes, because we will be back next week with a little bit of a playoff edition of the podcast, because we get to miss the first round. So we get to have a little bit of fun in our own time. So look forward to that. Havoc Puss is going to be back for that. Moving on, the League of Legends team went 2-0 this week, which was highlighted by the Academy team actually being subbed in to play on the LCS stage for the first time against Clutch Gaming, and they kind of absolutely demolished them. Both games were actually pretty hard wins for the Cloud9 team. Going in this week, Cloud9 needed 1 win, or TSM lost to guarantee the playoff, the second seed playoff bye, and they were able to pick that up in the first day. They beat Flyquest pretty easily, which actually put Flyquest in kind of a precarious position, playing for a tiebreaker with Golden Guardians, which they ended up winning. So that ended up working out well for them. TSM actually finished the week 2-0, so we actually had to get that win. But what was most exciting about the win against Flyquest was that it unlocked the Academy team being able to come up and play against Clutch Gaming on Sunday. So we got to see Kumo, we got to see Blabber, Golden Glue, Keith, and Diamond all on the stage, and they actually quite look good. But I'm jumping ahead of myself because there were some things I wanted to talk about Flyquest. The most interesting thing for me, I think, was definitely the draft. The Jinx pick wasn't insanely surprising to me. I think the most surprising thing to me was the Morgana mid. That's not really something you obviously see. I don't know how many games there were actually played as Morgana mid lane the split. I'll see if I can figure that out. But it is a very low number. So what is kind of unique about Morgana is that she is kind of a counter to the LeBlanc, which is not something you really ever see. The most notable example of a Morgana mid was when Faker picked LeBlanc in Game 5 of MSI Season 5 or 6. I want to say against RNG. They locked in the Morgana into Faker's unbeaten LeBlanc and went off with the Morgana mid. If you're looking to play this in solo queue, I have to imagine I'm not a Morgana mid player, but she out pushes LeBlanc pretty handily, and you can snare her pretty easy once she tries to jump on your face. And obviously, you have the Black Shield to block any other chains. So I think it's a lane counter and kind of a catch counter in the late game. So if you're looking to do that, it's interesting. I was also pretty surprised to see the Ornn top lane. It kind of just showed that this Cloud9 team was willing to go all in on playing protect the carry comp, and it went pretty well. Sneaky was able to get a couple kills early in the game, which allowed him to get some of the items that he needed to completely snowball the game. Wild Turtle wasn't anything special on the Xayah, and they actually just allowed us to bully them out completely with the Jinx. And once a Jinx gets ahead with Ornn, Jarvan, Morgana, and Tahm Kench, like, there's nothing you can do to stop her really, especially with the LeBlanc. The Vlad maybe, but at that point in time, by the time that the Vlad had enough items to do anything, it was already too late. So it was a super clean game from Cloud9, knowing and playing to their win condition. Which leads us to Sunday, where we got to see some other kind of interesting things. We actually saw the Jinx come out again, but it wasn't quite the same protection comp that we saw in the first game. We saw Braum, Lissandra, Rek'Sai, which Palaver's been hardcore spamming, and then Kumo on Gangplank, which he actually got counter-picked by Huni's Illusion top, which I was not expecting either of those, because the Illusion top is kind of a meme at this point, and Huni hasn't quite shown that he is excellent on the pick, despite playing it quite a few times in a Gangplank, and playing it into Kumo, who's playing his first LCS game, is pretty crazy that Kumo performed so well, because he shouldn't have been in the position that he was in, all things considered, because if Lucian's a counter pick, then there's no reason the quote-unquote world's best top laner can't dominate an NA rookie. So props to Kumo for holding in there. I was impressed with how quickly Keith was able to pop off on Jinx. Like, it was even faster than Sneaky did against Flyquest. Sorry, I had to get a drink of water. So by the time a Jinx got ahead of of Zaya, it was pretty much GG because everybody else on Cloud9 was ahead. But it was a really clean game from the academy. I don't want to like undercut any of what they did because they did come in as an academy team. They full well knew that they would be playing on Sunday, assuming that the LCS team won on Saturday or TSM lost. So they had the advantage over Clutch Gaming, who only had a day to prepare for this brand new roster, and it just kind of looked like they just stopped caring. And once Keith kind of started to pull ahead, which I guess I don't blame them too much because they were pretty much out of playoff position at the start of the day. Actually, I think they were out of playoff position at that point, so hard to blame them for not really caring all that much. But you think that they would not want, I guess, smurfed on by an academy team, because I think it just goes to show that the Academy League has a lot of talent in there that could easily step up to the LCS stage, and especially Clutch Gaming in particular, who finished 9th place. And I have to imagine that Piglet is on bot time at this point because he has done nothing this year. They moved him to mid lane so they could get Cody's son in. Vulcan's been meh. Hooney's been extremely underwhelming. The Hooney-Lyra combo that we were all expecting to stomp has been underwhelming. And I don't think this team has many excuses for where they finished. So they're going to be looking... I assume they're going to be looking to up their game in the off season, and that could include maybe calling gold and glue to get in a resident mid laner, so then they would... Oh, no, they wouldn't be able to get up another import, but it would probably up their game substantially from Pig playing mid. No offense to him. And also 100 Thieves could very well be looking for some players too. I know they've been subbing out. Kumo would be a really good option there. Blabber could be an option. I mean, even Keith maybe looks ready to take the step up to LCS. And honestly, I'd love to see them all up there, preferably for Cloud9. But I think at this point, if they can just get the LCS stage experience, there might come a point where, oh, we need a player back in our roster, and calling in someone from the old academy team would be an option if they were looking to take a step up again in their career to the actual full Cloud9 roster. But the results around the league ended up solidifying the playoff spots. So Team Liquid, Cloud9, top 2. Then we had TSM, Flyquest, Golden Guardians, and Echo Fox all in the playoffs. How the things matched up: Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Flyquest is going against Golden Guardians, and then Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, TSM is going against Echo Fox. I think we can safely say that TSM has the advantage on Sunday, just due to the fact that they've been on fire lately, and I believe the only team they've lost to in the second half of the season has been Cloud9. So they are on fire, and they are looking for to try and get a redemption for their performances in playoffs and the regional Worlds qualifier last year against Cloud9. So I don't see a world where if TSM wins that Team Liquid would pick TSM, but it would certainly be interesting to see how the other game plays out. Flyquest and Golden Guardians. Flyquest was kind of the third place team most of the split, and then they kind of started to fall off. while Golden Guardians was kind of the exact opposite. They started, I want to say 0-4, and now they've kind of climbed up to this playoff position where they actually almost got the side choice against Flyquest until they lost in the tiebreaker late Sunday night. Not late, it was 8 p.m. But it's going to be interesting to see those two teams go back against each other, because in just the past week alone, they're 1-1 against each other. Both of them won big matches. So I think on any day, both of these teams could win, just due to the fact that they have similar level of squads, I would say. But I think if I had to make a prediction, I like Golden Guardians in this series. Not for really any particular reason. I think I just like the roster more. But I will say Flyquest was, or the kind of set the tone for what the playoff would look like, switching out their jungler and looking so good. Throwing in Maxi, which was extremely impressive to me. So with a new patch hitting and their switchingness in the jungle, it's going to be interesting to see how that jungle and mid matchup plays out with how the patch was made. So that's what you can look out for this weekend. Just some last few things, just because I know I'm going extremely short. My throat has started to hurt just due to the weather and allergies, so I apologize. But end of season, now that it's over with, it's going to be interesting to see what the end of season rewards are. I have to imagine that there's going to be a Cloud9 player on the first team all NALCS, and I if I were betting on it, I think it would have to be Licorice. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone like Someday up there, but his team was unideal, I guess. 100 Thieves finished last, but he was by far their best player. I'd be surprised if he got first team over Licorice, but I feel like he's probably up for some kind of shout in the LCS. I have to imagine a Niski might get some honors, maybe third team. Sneaky could for sure get second team. Svenskeren maybe second team, and Zazel maybe second team, maybe third team. So those are a few things to look out for as playoffs start. And Havoc and I might have that discussion again next week, just because I think it's interesting and fun to have, especially with someone to bounce ideas off of. So think I'm going to end it here. Sorry for the short episode. Not a ton of Cloud9 stuff happening next week, so there's not really anything to preview, which sucks, but it's also a good thing. March Madness is still going on for basketball, so I'm a little caught up in that. My team, the Mission State Spartans, play Friday night, and then potentially Sunday, even during playoffs. So I'm going to do my best to watch it, and hopefully report back to you guys next week with my analysis for Cloud9. So thank you guys for showing up every week. We truly do appreciate it, even though we don't say it quite as much as I think we should. So shout out to all the people who listen. You guys are what keep us doing this every week, every other week in the off season. So we do it because we enjoy it, but because we also know that there are people out there who care, even if we don't hear from you. So we would love to hear from you, whether that's on Twitter at C9Bodied, at email, which is bodiedfancast@gmail.com, or just in the Reddit post or DM me or Havoc Puss if you can find him. He's all over the place. So greatly appreciated. Have a good weekend. Bye, guys.